Welcome to Country Fried Rock, where we talk with musicians to find out what inspires their creativity. Country Fried Rock, music uncovered. My name is Sloane Spencer, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock. My guest today is Annie Rothschild of Paladino. Welcome, Annie.
Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you with us. How did you originally start playing music?
Well, I've been around music my whole life. My father owns a little record label based out of the South, and so he's been feeding me blues my whole life, so I feel very lucky with that. And I just started playing bass, I guess, about 10 years ago, just electric bass. But I actually just started the upright about a year ago when Paladino formed.
So you didn't grow up playing an instrument?
Actually, well, that's not true. I played piano and clarinet and off and on for years, but just picked up the bass about 10 years ago, and then now I barely play the electric anymore at all. It's only upright.
So early piano and clarinet lessons didn't ruin your interest in music?
No, actually, I loved piano. I was kind of like I learned classically trained, but I always wanted to know how to improvise. Like, I grew up in Atlanta, and I always wanted to know how to play, like, Allman Brothers and Skinner.
Right.
And then eventually I just kind of like fell out of it a little bit and then got into the bass a few years after that.
You grew up with a classical training in instruments, but I totally get the wanting to play your own thing. What led to you starting to actually play music that you wanted to play?
So funny, just one day I just like needed to play the bass. I don't know why or how. I think guitar like never appealed to me. I think 6 strings versus 4 just seemed like a little difficult. So yeah, I just cruised down to Guitar Center and bought a bass and an amp and started fooling around, trying to play old blues tunes and kind of had this urge to do it, I guess.
Did you have any like female role models in terms of bass playing or guitar playing? Or was that even an issue?
Gosh, actually, well, Bonnie Raitt, she's my idol and, guitar player, but just being grounded in the blues and all she's done for blues, I've always looked up to her. And also Susan Tedeschi, definitely a role model. She's such a great singer and performer. And
she's awesome.
But yeah, those are the only females I've ever like really looked up to. There's some upright players I was definitely inspired by, like Willie Dixon, who I've named my bass after. James Singleton, I love all New Orleans music, is really, really great. And recently I've been getting into a lot more of like upright jazz players, like Dave Holland and Mingus. So the upright tone is so special. It's so powerful to try to be a part of it and have it flow through you, I guess is the point.
When you talk about old blues and that you grew up listening to and stuff with your dad, and then what you also personally like, what kind of stuff?
Well, like old New Orleans music, Alan Toussaint and James Booker, and that scene has always been really powerful to me. Like I've listened so extensively to all of that music, really, really inspiring. And the Meters, George Porter is one of my favorite bass players as well. But I don't know why I've always had an affinity for just like old like roots music in general. Why I don't know. That's why I love Paladino, actually, although it's kind of we're more of a country.
What were you listening to, the roots music that was inspiring beyond the old blues?
Muddy Waters is probably my favorite performer of all time. But I grew up listening to a lot of the Allman Brothers. Dwayne Allman, fantastic. And Freddie King has been a huge inspiration as well. I remember my dad gave me my first tape that he made for me. It was Van Halen's Jump. I was like 4 years old. And then came like all of Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin. And all that Atlantic Records stuff is really, really cool and really powerful to me. My dad owns a record label called Landslide Records. He's closely related with Capricorn. He like Widespread Panic's first album and Derek Trucks' first album. And
I am a proud owner of one of the original album releases of Widespread Panic before it got picked.
Space Wrangler?
Yeah, before it was picked up and then redone.
So he sold the rights to Capricorn in 1988 for that record. That's so neat that you know the label.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. Well, that's really cool.
So lucky to have that, like just to have a taste for music or to, like, I don't know, to have somebody who's like so inspired and inspiring to just constantly be feeding me music still to this day. Like, I was just getting into this gospel record recently, T.L. Burnett and the Youth for Christ Choir.
Oh, wow.
72 Chicago, this incredible gospel record that's like super soul-oriented.
Cool.
I'm like, Dad, have you listened to this? And he's like, no. He's like, but have you heard Dorothy Love Coates? And all these, it's always a universe of music that you don't know exists. And you think you know.
Right.
You discover it. Yeah, I'm really getting into gospel these days, actually. Like, I don't know how or why, but yeah, I like kind of soul.
I'm a little surprised at all the jazz and blues because I would not have said that right away from listening to Paladino.
I know. It's funny. We're a cool combination. I mean, I'm a huge music snob. I wouldn't like be in this band if I didn't think the tunes were really powerful. It's definitely like a roots country, but with like a real modern punk rock edge to it. It comes from Johnny, our lead singer, and then Chris, our lead guitar player. Johnny grew up in Southern California, and Chris is from New York. They've got like a huge punk rock thing going on.
Right.
So it's kind of like a neat combination of cool modern sound, but it's really like authentic.
You were talking a little bit about picking up the electric bass about 10 years ago. At what point did that become more than just something you were doing on your own?
It's funny. I lived in San Francisco for a while, and I moved to LA, and just randomly, I was talking to a girlfriend about how I was playing bass and that it would be cool to sort of looking for a band, but I just kind of started over in LA. And then one of her best friends had just mentioned to her that they were looking for a bass player. It was just totally kind of meant to be. And then I went over and rehearsed with them, and, magic happened, I thought. And then we were rehearsing the next week at Johnny's house. Johnny and I were, and he had this upright just laying around that he never really played, and just a big beater, and I couldn't take my hands off it. And it's like, here you go, you can take it. And now I really need to give it back. But yeah, it all happened really organically. It was meant to be. It just kind of, we all fell into it together. Johnny and Adrian, our other guitar player, have known each other for 20 years. And Johnny is actually he's a brilliant songwriter, but he's also a brilliant artist. He's kind of a shut-in, and this is his first band. Adrian was like, okay, it's all come together. It's time to start a band. It's time to do this. It has been really a cool ride. Hey, this is Annie Rothschild with Paladino, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock.
As y'all just sort of fell into this as the band, what led to developing songs together?
Well, Johnny had a lot of songs that they were partially done, or he had ideas about, and then he and Chris started collaborating a lot. Chris is a brilliant musician who has toured the world with a number of bands, brings in a real sensibility and a real strong direction into the songs, gives it more of a modern edge to it for sure. He's also a fantastic performer and one of the greatest guitar players I've ever known. Killer slide player. So I think that they kind of just started developing all the songs together, and then we just started rehearsing. We rehearsed twice a week for 6 months before we even played a gig. And now it's still growing, you can feel it in our rehearsal space. Everyone's kind of come into their own position in the band, which is totally fascinating because this band is full of characters, and just the chemistry that happens between everybody is fascinating, really. Everyone has a specific place in it. Johnny will come in with a song, and Chris will kind of help arrange it, and they'll be agreeing or disagreeing, and Adrian is just she's the one that just doesn't take any okay, let's stay on track here. Yeah, it's really fun to watch. As you refined what you were doing with frequent rehearsal, how did it go as you first started performing out? Actually, our first gig was at Silver Lake Lounge 8 months ago, I guess about 6 to 8 months ago. It was, it was cool. It was a perfect club. It was a good sound system. One guy was really on top of it, and I feel like we're just getting better and better, as long as we don't drink too much before the show, which we're not doing. Our gigs are definitely becoming smoother and more refined. We're getting down to, we've been experimenting with different set lists, trying not to change too much about the song. Sometimes one of us will be like, wait, we should be doing this slower, or we should speed this up, or we should change this intro or whatever. And then usually it's checks and balances. Someone will be like, no, dude, it's good the way we did it. It's let's not, rearrange everything. So, and it's good we have an odd number of people in the band. We can agree, okay, 3 verses. We have the voice of reason as our drummer, John. He's the one, he's been playing drums his entire life, and he's an incredible drummer. He's always the one that kind of is the tiebreaker. When you're dealing with bluegrass or old-time bands, the bass line is what drives the rhythm, but you've got a drummer. So how does that work for your interplay? When we first started playing together, I totally glommed on to Johnny's upright immediately. And then we were starting to play, and then I was just really learning how to play it. And it's a totally different. And the guys, were like, maybe you should play electric a little bit. And I was like, no, actually, I'm going to just play upright. You're going to have to bear with me. It took some lessons and picked it up really quickly. Still picking it up, obviously, but really, really just took to it. John is a very technical drummer. He and I normally come up with the rhythm together. It's kind of I'll throw something out hey, what about this bass line, or what about that one? And he'll say yes or no, or, and why don't I do this kind of fill? And we definitely try to play off each other. Whatever is best for the song, whatever is best for the moment. Nobody is trying to be a hero or trying to stand out at all. Whatever is happening at that, just trying to do right by the song. It's all happened kind of quickly for you in terms of falling in together, rehearsing, having the gigs. What led to recording the songs? Yeah, it has happened. It's so funny. It really has happened so quickly, almost shockingly, fast. I think that a lot of that has had to do with Adrian, who's, acting as our manager, and she's just the most beautiful and brilliant gal. She's so on board and so on top of it with reaching out to people and trying to get our name out there. And then Johnny has a lot of connections in Los Angeles with different music folks, and I do too. We had have a great recording studio, 101 Recording, that he's known his friend, this guy David Ives, forever, who's a really, really talented engineer. And we went in there and recorded 10 tracks, actually, about a year ago on my birthday. Yeah, and just belted them out. And, everyone said, no, this is just going to be a demo. This is not going to be anything. I'm like, okay, it's all right. Okay, cool. And so, of course, it's our album.
Right.
But it was really, really fun. And luckily, we've got so many talented ears, and
right.
Everyone, it's a very cohesive, decision-making process of what songs made the album, what songs didn't make the album, or this one, what kind of forms our sound, but gives a good overview of what Paladino is all about. But the sound is definitely growing for sure since then. Our first record, 10 or 11 songs on it, and hopefully our next one will have at least that or more. Chris is actually bringing in a lot of songs now as well, which is adding kind of a more rockabilly aspect to it, which is cool and really fun to perform live,
Sure.
A lot of high energy stuff. When Johnny first started bringing a lot of the songs in, he was playing a lot of slow, more rootsy country songs, and Adrian and I were both like, no, this is not going to fly. We need some faster, more upbeat things, and lo and behold, he's just got a huge catalog. He's okay, what about this one or that one? Dim and Gutless Jig is a good example of that, and Lonely Mountain.
All right, so you went in to record at 101 Recording, and the intent was kind of a demo. You walk out the door, you got an album. Were you working with anyone in producing that, or were you all producing it yourselves?
No, it's all self-produced. Johnny and Chris definitely had the most to do with it, and then David Ives, our engineer, was kind of just the one, the voice of reason in the corner,
right?
About things. But no, we didn't actually work with a producer, but I'm sure we'll probably have one on our next record that can help just kind of channel the sound into more cohesive unit. On this record, on Paladino, self-titled, we've got some slow stuff, some really fast stuff. Being that we kind of did think it was going to be a demo, we tried to just give an overall view of what the band can do. Next record will probably be a little bit more fine-tuned.
As you're moving forward and that you're going to go for a more cohesive sound next time, what specifically would you be looking for a producer to bring to the studio process for you all in the next one?
I would love for somebody to come in and just be able to have a better big picture of what our place in country music and rock and roll is actually. One of the things I love about the band is that I feel like the sound is pretty unique. Brings in roots country, brings in punk, and it's definitely different from anything I've heard. So somebody that kind of has a better sense of the big picture of what works and what doesn't, what's avant-garde and what's not, what's powerful and what's been done before. Because we are kind of a throwback band. We bring in lots of elements from vintage sounds, like the slow country songs we do on the record, like Too Many Rivers and Green Green Grass. And Snow Deer. I think Snow Deer was written in 1980. Johnny is definitely a purist with old country music. So it's just kind of flowing through all of us. And it would be nice to have somebody on board that had more of a vision of the future. Hey, this is Annie Rothschild with Paladino. Check out our record at paladinomusic.com.
Are you the kind that think that, vintage gear and vintage recording would bring something to the song?
It's funny you say that, actually, because I only listen to vinyl. I kind of think that analog recording definitely beats digital, but I know digital is so much easier, and you can play around with it a lot. But the problem with that is that a lot of artists, I feel like, just overproduce, which can lead to just disaster. You've got to know kind of when to stop, when to actually just go with the song. And it's great when we can do it in just a take. For our record, nobody got more than 3 takes,
right,
unless you begged for it. Everyone only got 3 takes, and then normally either Johnny or David or Chris is like, nope, you're done. You begged for it. You were really no, please let me do it one more time. But the most fun is when you can just do it, just belt it out in one take and just not mess with it, and have somebody that says, don't mess with it.
Have you all had any of those kind of discussions about who might be able to bring something like that to the table for you?
A little bit. I happen to be a huge fan of Jim Scott. I think he's a terrific producer. He's done a lot of the Wilco records, Derek and Susan's last record. I think he has a real sensibility about what's good. Is there another take in us, or do we have the best one? It would be really great to work with him.
It's astute to notice what it is that a producer can bring to your team. Has there been anything else that you think would really benefit you all as a group in terms of another element to the team that would help you get your musical message across?
We had a friend of ours sing with us one night, Michelle Vidal. She's a great, Peruvian gospel singer. And she sat in with us on a tune of this old Mexican song called El Canción Mixteca. And that was really, really special. It would be really, really neat to have, a powerful, she's like an opera singer.
Wow.
But that might not necessarily go with all the rest of the songs. Adrian and I are starting to sing a lot more backup. Some songs that we perform that we just sing would really, really cool to have, just the girls. But all 5 of us have started singing, at all the shows. That's really, really fun. It would be neat maybe to have a fiddle player sit in on some of the tracks. But I think overall, we're trying not to get too carried away with other elements. I mean, we have 3 guitars, bass, drums, and the songs are so tight that there's almost not much room for anyone else to kind of join in. Yeah, it's funny actually, I come from a whole different universe of music where we're from South. So I've never really listened to a ton of punk music except the Ramones. Those elements really come in from Johnny and Chris and Adrian. That was kind of their times. Chris and Adrian lived in New York forever and we're at CBGBs all the time and they know everything about that genre, as does Johnny. I come in kind of with a little bit more of a blues perspective, I think. The relationship between bluegrass and punk music, tight.
What does California then bring to your sound?
Being in LA, actually, there are so many bands here. I mean, and so many people have told us, don't even try to get popular in LA. We're living in LA. Make any money working in music in LA. There's so much competition. The LA music scene, it's so funny because, my dad is Annie, well, when we started playing shows, he was well, how much are you getting paid? And we're I'm not really getting, you almost have to play for free. There's so many indie bands out here.
Right.
The scene is definitely saturated. So that's why it's really fun to tour. And I can't wait to play in the South. I think it'll be really cool.
Everything I know about the LA music scene comes from musicians who are within the scene, all of whom think whichever their part of town is the place to be and that the rest of them are all bogus.
Totally.
And that's practically a quote. So you mentioned that y'all have played in Silver Lake. Is that your area? Is that where you play regularly?
It's funny. We're actually kind of spread out, but we rehearse in Venice, actually at the Monkees old studio.
Cool.
It's this back house behind Chris and Adrian's house. It's really funny. But yeah, the guy from the Monkees, they rehearse there a lot. Generally, we're always in Venice. And then I live on the east side, actually, near Pasadena. So, but I'm more of an east side kind of indie hipster wannabe, and those guys are on the west side, kind of near closer to the beach. But I don't know, we always drive all over the place. We played in Orange County. We generally play shows on the east side, though, at the Echo, or in downtown, the Villains Tavern or One Eyed Gypsy. That's kind of more of our scene, I think.
Let's talk touring. Is this in the works?
Yeah. As far as our tour, we're definitely planning to hit some festivals this summer, and we love the California coast all over. We're playing in San Francisco. We play in San Francisco all the time, and we're hoping to do some festivals, which I think we're definitely getting calls to do some shows in Austin and Texas. Yeah, we'd love to make it out. I'm sure we'll make it out to the South, to Georgia and Tennessee and South Carolina.
It's a little different living in a van with other people versus meeting them twice a week to rehearse. Do y'all have a game plan on that?
When we tour, we generally, Adrian and Chris actually have 2 little babes that come with us.
Oh, my goodness.
The whole family's on the road. I know. And we bring Adrian's Aunt Barb, who is just one of the coolest ladies I've ever met in my life. She's Southern. And
awesome.
She takes care of the kids. I know. It's really fun having the kids on the road, actually, because they're total characters, too. But, yeah, we love being on the road. We're really good on the road, too. We definitely feed off of it. Our first show, we're always, we're so excited and we're so on fire. And then just kind of going on from there and changing things up a little bit, trying to keep it fresh. But we love touring. Really, really fun being out there with everybody. The only brutal thing about that is that at the last, normally I'll end up sharing a room with them.
Lucky you.
I mean, just waking up, I do not know how people do it every day, these kids. But we come back, we get back from the club at 2 a.m. and at 6:30 or earlier, the kids are just on fire, ready to play. And I always end up, taking the kids to breakfast. I'm done in the hotel and stay awake while we're eating breakfast together. So it's exhausting, but it's really, really fun though. It's too bad they can't come to the shows with us.
Right, wear them out a little bit.
Their kids actually, little Maisie is 4, and last time we did a show, she was able to come, and she just would come up to the stage, and little George is 2, not even 2, and she'd be crawling around the pedals while we're playing, I'm wait,
that's
don't get
hysterical.
hurt. Both of those kids are so musical, too. It would be really, really fun to have Maisie, like, sit in, sing a song. We might have to get her on stage.
I was saying, give her a little, egg shaker or...
She's a great singer, man.
Tambourine.
She's a great singer.
Have you gotten to go out to any shows, and has there been anyone you've enjoyed seeing?
I love seeing live music, and I go out every weekend. I mean, I love to soak it in, hear what other people are doing, and kind of keep my finger on the pulse a little bit. I saw the Jayhawks last night at the Fillmore. That was kind of interesting. That was a great show. Some of the best shows I've seen recently. Alan Toussaint, always just so stellar. Oh, actually, I got so lucky the other day in L.A. A friend of mine tipped me off that Ringo was playing at the Troubadour noon. And I went down there and somehow got to watch that. But seeing Ringo Starr play with 100 other people, with he and his new band, including Joe Walsh, that was pretty stellar. But yeah, I saw a Ween show recently that I thought was fantastic. I really like Ween, and just the band, if there was one band that I would strive for our band to be like, it would be the band. There's so many songwriters, there's a lot of different styles coming together, and that's kind of that's my vision for Paladino.
I know that upright bass players have various techniques that they love. I attended an entire lecture one time on how not to overuse the slap bass. I understand you're working on your upright bass skills, but do you have a particular upright bass specific trick you'd like to learn?
I was playing slap too, and so it's such a fine line between overusing that. I don't know. I usually just try to play in the pocket. Basically my trick. I mean, just try to like fill in the blanks wherever it is and drive it. But yeah, I don't necessarily have any like specific technique that I use. Really the hardest thing is calluses. We're constantly using lotions and creams and stuff like that on our faces and bodies, and they just didn't go away so fast that I started showering with gloves on.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, I know. They go away really, really fast when you're a girl. So I'm just trying to get some tricks from the guys, like I'm constantly like trying to massage them and make them tougher, So ask Brown to Spalding about that.
Right.
What she does about that. It's funny to me like that some people only listen to one band too. I have friends who like only listen to Fish, or they only listen to Widespread, or they only listen to bluegrass or whatever, and people just dial into that one thing and then that's their thing. I have to say, like, I'm definitely the complete opposite of that. Like, and I've gone through phases with all of those. Did Fish tour in high school. I went through a bluegrass phase, like, gone through. But now I'm just really, like, I'll probably dwell in New Orleans for the rest of my life.
Right.
I'll be there. The gospel thing with me is kind of, Mahalia Jackson she's my idol, but I think overall, like, just roots music in general has always really appealed to me. My favorite thing about playing in this band are just all the people in the band are such characters. They're all such stars and interesting, fascinating folks in their own right. It's brilliant how it all kind of comes together, the chemistry between everybody. We all haven't killed each other. We all, like, love each other, can collaborate to the degree that we can. That's really, really special for me.
Country Fried Rock. Find the full playlist from this episode on countryfriedrock.org. Check us out on iTunes. No music, just talk. Our theme music is from The Full Tones. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock. Copyright 2012 by Lily Pad Productions. All rights reserved.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock?
Hey y'all, it's Sloane Spencer. Thanks so much for finding all these new old episodes of Country Fried Rock. I've got something completely different available these days called Sleep with Rock Stars. And it all started from a listener comment back in the very early days of Country Fried Rock who said, I slow these down to 75% and fall asleep to them. And I was like, well, over the years I started thinking about it, and I recently started Sleep with Rock Stars. It's the Gen X Sleep Podcast, and you can find it at sleepwithrockstars.com or your favorite podcast app.